That was an autofail, and you know it. Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dusty Auspex. I, of course, am Dan Hewen. We've got our homeboy, Kyle Plouffe, with us today. And Rory
I'm a Kyle.
That's right. And a homeboy. Rory couldn't be here today because, as you may or may not know, he is sick. Yeah. He got the jungle fever, and he's been diarrheaing all afternoon.
I thought they got rid of that in the 70s.
I did too. I think he found it, though. He went out and he found it.
It's in all those RT Marines that he's been playing with.
He's going to shit himself to death. Much as the Hound mentioned in Game of Thrones, he said, better men have shit themselves to death in a field somewhere. I would like to say that Rory's not one of those men. Yeah.
No, he doesn't deserve to be in the Goodman field.
Yeah, because he could not be.
He's like in the ditch on the way to the Goodman field.
That's right, yeah. So you got to walk past Rory while he's pooping his brains out just to get to the field, you know? Anyway.
Well, that was quite the start there, Dan.
Got a great show lined up for you guys. We're going to bitch about 8th edition a little bit. Actually, Kyle's played a lot of games, so it's
going to kind of be a good cop, bad cop thing here.
Jinx, sort of.
Oh.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
It's the smoothie.
I haven't played quite as many. I've been kind of tricked into playing a lot of 2v2s, and I've noticed that they seem to go awful for me, regardless of what I'm playing. However, Kyle's played a lot of 1v1s. Like at the
so many 1v1s.
Yeah, so he's got probably a more educated version of how things actually are. You know, whereas I'm always like, everything's a D weapon now. I should shower more.
See, and on the other hand, I'm like, oh man, everything's a D weapon now. I need to shower less.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, and like you're King Magnus, and so you're used to the power. But
now
there are certain things out there that are also stupidly powerful.
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel since we're still at the very cusp of 8th edition, we've just got the indexes, and we're right before the Codex comes out for Marines. We're still way early, so people, instead of finding decent combinations and layers, they find one that you can spam. Shout out to our missing friend Rory.
Yes, yeah. The Spam Lord, king of spam. Lying in the ditch, diarrhea everywhere. Just trying to get to the
Spam
field.
in the diarrhea.
There you go. Spam leads to diarrhea in real life too, yeah.
Right?
Good catch, Kyle.
Living it till the end.
Spam, though, like when we say spam, we're not talking about 7th edition spam, like, ooh, he's playing with a lot of bikes.
Oh, here's 6 squads of warp spiders. No. We're talking about like 120 caw-caws, which, if you're not up on the slang yet, that is the little flocks of beasts that you can get from the Dark Eldar. They're 4 wounds, they're 8 attacks, they're only strength and tough 2 and hitting on 5s, but who cares?
Yeah.
You can get 7 points for these, 12 in a squad.
Yeah. So
you're looking at 84 points to just completely screw up someone's day.
Yeah, and I think the list that I saw is actually for sale right now too. Is Incarn and Incarnate or whatever you say.
You know, I'll never tell you where the COD is, Thurston.
And then
I'm legally not allowed by GW.
All the Razor Wings with an Incarnate, which I think is ludicrous. Like, you know how many that is? And that army is actually for sale right now.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like a guy,
it was a guy in the UK. Yeah, he put it together. It was just for that tournament. He got himself set, and now that's it. He's out of it.
Yeah, and like, this is not even like, it sounds weird. It's not the weirdest one out there. Well, it might be the weirdest, but like,
I think it's the weirdest because the others, like, the Storm Ravens kind of makes sense. You got an air wing coming in.
Yeah.
Rebooting a bunch of Devastators kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
He's directing the heavy firepower.
32 missile Devastators is one we were talking about on
32 missiles, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. By the time you get Reboot, the Devastators, and pay for the Marine bodies, you're looking somewhere around 1,400 points. You fill in the rest, and you're set. So you're looking for your HQs and whatnot.
So basically you just have like...
Reboot's the Lord of War.
It's not quite a Death Star. It's like a hill of craziness.
It's like a death buff.
Stuff. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best I can explain it, is a buff. Because at this point, that's what this edition's strength is the buffs.
Yeah.
Before, it was the combinations of, hey, who can I cram into this squad? And
you say buffs, you're talking about like area buffs.
I'm talking the area buffs. I'm talking your captain's giving you the reroll 1s. I'm talking the beautiful Mr. Call and his reroll any hits, not failed, any hits.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That is huge. It allows you to anticipate the minuses because rerolls are first, modifiers are after. So if you know you're shooting at a flyer, you normally hit on 3s, you know it's going to go that 4s are only the things hitting. Oh, I'm going to scoop up these 3s as well.
And also, not only that, too, the ability to reroll everything is nice because most stuff now nowadays is just re-rolling once.
It says ones,
Yeah.
or it failed.
Yeah.
Failed is especially the other keyword that's there.
And there's other weird things that I've kind of like run into playing in events and stuff. Like when I was playing in the 2v2 for the campaign.
Yes.
You can actually, like, the equivalent of Feel No Pain off of Feel No Pain.
Yes, because it is two separate rules, which is legal to take the two different saves.
Yeah.
If it was coming from the same source, like if you had, say, Tyranids have Catalyst,
Yes.
gives them a 5 or a 6 up. If they had two Catalysts for some reason going off, the unit wouldn't be able to get a 5 or a 6 and then a 5 or a 6.
Yeah.
But if you have Catalyst and Warlord trait, boom, you're set.
Yeah, exactly. The Warlord trait
Yeah.
is the one that I ran into. It was a
Yes.
Hive Tyrant
Yes.
who had, I think it was a 5-up.
Yeah, it would be
And
because
then
he
also
would
a 6.
cast Catalyst on himself for the 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was pretty crazy. And you can also do that with Death Guard, you know, anything
Yeah.
that has a built-in one.
Yeah,
I guess
exactly.
you can do that with Dark Eldar, too.
Well, that's why one of the spam lists that people were talking about was the multiple Nurgle Princes in Bellicor.
Okay.
You get disgustingly resilient, so on 5 or
Actually, you know
6,
what?
they're
You would
shugging
know
it
better
off.
than me. What are all the current spam lists that are seeing a lot of table play?
We've basically hit on the top ones.
Yeah.
There's 4 major ones right now. Reboot and Friends is one. Raven Spam is one. Caw Spam is one of the most hilarious.
Yeah.
And then you have the Tau Drone
Expensive.
Spam.
Probably really expensive to build that.
Yeah, you need to go third-party models, otherwise it is insane.
Yeah.
It really is. Which means you can only do it at certain tournaments. You can't do GW-sanctioned tournaments, which are becoming more of a thing.
Yeah.
So,
Now that they're dipping their hand in the competitive circuit. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you know, like the part that really irks me about all that like level of spam in this edition
Yes.
is that they had promised everything. You know, they said the end is spam, everything's going to be usable, blah blah blah.
It's
blah.
true.
And it's
but it's not so
actually kind
much
of like turbo spam.
It is. It is.
You know?
And I think what happened is that they didn't necessarily promise the end of spam. They promised a rebalancing.
Yeah.
And we inferred
That meant no more spam.
Right.
I'm going to use my Howling Banshees now. Hey, no more spam for some reason.
Well, and
you
then
know
the
what?
thing
Like,
is,
that's
they
what
do
we all
reward.
thought,
Well,
right?
of course,
Like, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
what I thought. That's what everyone who was looking at this edition, or the majority, I'm going to say. There's obviously going to be some people out there that right for the cracks, right for the how can I break this?
Yes, and I remember some of the conversations that were happening in the larger Facebook groups.
Yes.
Some of them were actually really funny because of how people thought they were being so clever.
Yeah.
Bending
They
the
think they're
rules.
sneaking around the corners, and it's like, no, it clearly states this is how it goes, but I can do it like
There were a
this.
couple of really funny ones. I just can't even remember them now because it was so many weeks ago.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I do like
The
is,
one that was the most hilarious at the time was saying, "Oh, I can name my Imperial Knight House Ultramarines
yes,
and get the
that's what it
Ultramarines
was.
benefits."
Yeah.
And it's like, no.
Read the book.
It's locked in. You know, it says it's Adeptus started. Yeah.
There's so I remember that because everything is faction based, as most people watching
Yep.
this will know now. But yeah, there were a lot of people that thought you could get, you know,
Of course.
a Super Friends list.
Of course, because they were
Including
looking
Knight,
for the way to
including-
break it without
And he was
playing
like,
it
oh yeah, I'll
first.
take a homunculus with like the Ultramarines faction.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, he's like, I don't.
It's like, well, that's a nice idea and all, but it's just not going. It's just
I
not
think
going to happen.
Ultramarines are a coven. It says you have to pick a coven, you know?
So similarly, I mean, you could name it your Ultramarines, but it would be the Coven Ultramarines,
Yeah.
not Adeptus Astartes Ultramarines.
Now, question. What do you like? Are there decent counters to these new spam lists, or are they just kind of going in and each one is like tearing it up? Obviously, if there's a winner of a tournament, someone's got to
Well,
beat someone else.
Theoretically, there are different counters to these lists. The problem is most of them rely on so few drops that they're tending to go first and getting off their high damage first.
Yes.
Which, I know people have complained about it, but this is where I'm a fan of ITCs. You both roll, first
Yes,
person to
yeah.
deploy gets +1.
Because there was I shared an article with our group recently about how there's an Alpha Strike problem because there was a campaign that was being run.
Yep.
And I can't remember the total number of games, but I think they said
It was a large number played.
like it wasn't
Yeah.
3 digits, but it was like you know,
They were-
50 or
yeah.
60 games. I think 4 of them were won by someone who went second. Which is
Yep.
shocking. I mean, you can't deny that there's an Alpha Strike problem at that point.
Oh, there absolutely is. And
That's why the roll-off is so important.
I agree. I absolutely agree there. Because otherwise all you have is 6+ to try and get through.
Yeah, and then you what do you just play like, I've got like 8 Storm Ravens, and you're playing Guardsmen.
Yeah.
You'll never go for
Yeah.
you bitch. Like,
Now, the flip side of that is the guy who is doing these few drops likely doesn't have the command points to swing anything around. Now, they're not necessarily going to need it because of the level of firepower they're putting out, but we don't know what stratagems we're going to see in the codexes yet. We don't know what we can spend command points on that's coming out.
at this point in time.
Correct.
Yeah, like as
Correct.
it stands, I've found these very generic ones. I haven't been able to ever turn a game with command points. They're nice to have. Sometimes you get a little extra damage on something there. You like that's what I try.
And I don't think it's as much.
Damage.
Well, yeah, that's an excellent one. But I don't think it's so much for the turning points of the game as a hold-up point. It's like, oh shit, I need to, pass this, keep these guys going. I'm going to auto pass the morale, tie you up in the combat, so you're not getting out and right away charging into something else. Gives me a chance to reposition.
Yeah.
Things like the reroll, yes, the damage is in my mind the ideal spot for that.
Totally. And like at the end of the day, like, when we first started playing 8th edition, our whole crew was talking about what we're going to do and all that, and everyone's like, oh, you need those command points, I feel like the guy with the 8 or 9 Storm Ravens, or however many it is, with
6 Ravens.
points,
6 Ravens.
he probably doesn't give a damn, and maybe on one level he's like, I wish I could re-roll something, but you get 3 base anyways, so you can re-roll a few things.
Well, he'll have 3, he'd have 1 more for the Stormwing.
Oh yeah, you do get 1 for that.
Yeah.
Does the Razor Wing flock, or that's what they're called, or the Razor flock, whatever.
Yeah, because you would cram them into the fast detachment or the elite, whichever one they're in. So you would just take well, to maximize the numbers, you'd probably run 3 of the detachment.
Oh, so you might actually pull 3 out then.
Yeah. So you'd have 6 command points in that one.
That's not terrible.
And then depending on HQs, you take some of them, of course, provide more command points or less command points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? But there are things in this game where I think, you could take X units that are so effing powerful.
Yep.
It wouldn't even matter if your opponent was running, a full brigade or something. You just roll over them. They're like, oh, I'll re-roll to hit. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's 7 more demon princes,
and that is a bit of a weakness. I think one of the most telling things in that regard is right now, GW has their campaign coming up, the Fate of Condor.
Yes, yeah.
The guys who work for the community page and run that are starting to put their lists up and their muster lists up about what they're doing. Today was Robs, and he's the guy who is in charge of the community page. On the podcast, you always see him as the guy who's doing the hosting. He posted his list, and it's got 5 Exocrines and 3 Turvagons, and it's okay, so even the guys at GW are embracing the idea that in certain instances, multiples are the power. Yeah. That's where you get the strength from.
And I think we're so used to only ever seeing fluffy garbage from Games Workshop employees, in the past.
Well, that's where it's so shocking.
Garbage. I like fluff.
But I looked at any list they put up in 7th edition, it was okay, this is alright, there's some power here, and there's some interesting parts there.
Even
but
old school, 3rd Ed White Dwarf battle reports, it was always fluffy stuff, usually. And I think that's because that's the element of the game. There's always been that argument, is this a game that's meant to be played technically, or is it meant to be played while you masturbate? So basically,
I like to do both.
Especially at the game store.
Hello.
But there's always been that thing where Games Workshop has always pushed play easy, motherfucker. And then
now it's play how you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's changed. Is it's no longer 1 of 2 versions of color by numbers. You literally just make your own friggin' army, and that's, in my opinion, where some of these not weaknesses,
they're temporary flaws, I'd say.
Yeah.
And this isn't a perfect system. It's not going to be. You can play test the shit out of it. You can do as much as you want. We're a larger gaming community than the playtesters will be. We're going to find the cracks as the community at large, and that's happening.
Something I would have really liked to see is you still have to take what was the equivalent of
the CAD?
Of a CAD.
Yeah.
I think, in a competitive element, in a tournament or anything like that, there should be at least some semblance of everyone starting on the starting line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you take the CAD, sure you can add a flowering, sure you can add, whatever.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. Provided that you're just I'll just go all flyers, you're going to run into people who, there's just too many variables to consider now, unless you're taking, super overwhelming unit times 100. there's just so many elements to consider in list building because everyone's basically just like, I have these models.
Well, yeah, and we're at that point where everyone's still figuring out, hey, does this work for me now? Does this work for me? What kind of list do I feel like in this edition?
And what's with all this under strength crap that I see on the internet? You know, like
that's people getting excited over something that's not as huge a deal.
Is that allowed in competitive play?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Under match play rules, I mean, you can take one under strength unit, essentially. You pay for the models that you take in the unit as opposed to the minimum size, the normal minimum size. Under narrative, if you're doing the power levels, you'd have to pay for the full squad size to get it because they don't break it down enough. Under match play, under the points, you pay for whatever you take. But it limits you to one unit, and then I mean, there's going to be some benefits. To some armies, there's going to be benefits to that.
That's not the worst thing, though, because, like, for example, I can't take 4 Incubi and an Archon in a Venom anymore.
Right.
But I guess
you could take one under strength unit and put the Archon in if you decided that's how you want to roll them.
And that's not a problem.
No.
Okay.
Now, if you had 2 or 3 of those under strength units, you wouldn't be allowed to run that many.
Make one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Bastard.
Exactly. It's like you bump them up.
So, what are some of the more interesting games you've played so far in this edition? Like you've been at the game store just grinding lately.
Yes, I mean I always grind games. It's what I do. But I've come across a few very interesting ones. I was against Logan, and he brought a list with 2 Renegade Knights. He had Bellicor in it, Typhus, bunch of Poxwalkers. Like he was going the whole Death Guard with support kind of thing.
Yeah.
I had my Magnus. At that time, it was just Lord of Change I was running, and I had a Demon Prince or 2. And he bubble wrapped so efficiently that there was no way I could get Magnus to any of his units and kill enough guys to be able to get a good charge in.
Really?
Yes.
So like with Poxwalkers or what?
Poxwalkers and then Cultists to finish it off. Yeah. He kept Typhus close to the Poxwalkers. Yeah. So Magnus, turn 1, he does his thing. I figure he's going to die anyway. He's going to get targeted and hit. I kill a bunch of the cultists beside him. He retreats them on the top of his turn and then charges the 2 knights and Bellicor into me after unloading some shots. So Magnus ends up getting kicked to death by these knights.
Yeah, well.
As they would. Yeah. He had 2 Crusader variants, so it's all shooting essentially, and then rolling the damage for the feet. Yeah. So each foot attack from a knight gives 3 attacks, 3 attack rolls.
Right, yeah.
So instead of 4 attack, normally you're at 12, -2, which I didn't care about, and the D3.
Did Magnus at least kill a knight?
No.
Really?
No. He had wounded me enough that I didn't have enough to be able to guarantee punch through a single one.
Yeah.
So at that point, I tried to split. I tried to kill Bellicor and then
because you decay your
damage a knight
attacks and stuff.
Yeah. And it didn't go bad, but he killed Magnus, and then from there he was able to maneuver and do what he needed. The mission we were playing was the Relic, so you had to have an infantry character to take it. Essentially what happened is he killed my infantry characters, I killed all of his infantry.
So
and he had First Blood, Warlord, and Linebreaker, I had Warlord and Linebreaker.
You know what I'm kind of thinking, like, and this might...
Yeah, it was... everyone's staring at it, they're too big to pick it up. Like, guys, what do we do?
I might break it with my hands.
Yeah.
I think, though, like, one thing that you mentioned about that game, which was interesting, is that he was playing Cultists and Poxwalkers.
Yes.
Probably no Plague Marines, right?
No Plague Marines. But he did have Typhus.
I think in this edition, to a degree...
Yeah.
Elite units aren't worth taking right now.
I think it depends very much on the elite unit, but I don't think they're worth spamming.
Because I would, back in the day, you'd take maybe 3 squads of 7 Plague Marines.
Yes.
They'd put in some work.
Sure, you've got your plasmas, your feel no pains,
some big
tough
winged
fives.
things that come down and be like, yeah! And they're all just going to die. And then there goes all those points, whereas you're almost better off taking whatever the lowest point shit unit is.
You almost are.
Like Foot Boys, Poxwalkers, Cultists especially.
What seems to be fleshing out is having some lower point units to be able to do the objective grabbing and the holding and the bubble wrapping, like that kind of thing. And then you've got some more expensive units to do the major damage.
Especially with the way saves are now, too.
Yes.
I think elite units can't do the job that they're supposed to. I think elite units are only good for attacking troops and other elite units right now.
Absolutely.
Whereas, you couldn't send, 3 Mega Knobs after Magnus and they'll be like, they're going to kill him. They're not probably going to kill him, and then he's going to just kind of
exactly. He'll do his thing.
Yeah. So I don't know what GW had in mind, but like elite infantry is not so elite anymore unless they're in a fight where it's just like they're for sure the best guys at the table.
At least with the some elite units that I've been using for my AdMech, I've been getting great use out of the Fulgurite Electro Priests. They gave a big boost this edition, but they're slow as fuck.
Yes.
So everyone's concerned, how do I get these across the table? Do I do like a bundle of 20? I don't worry about that at all. I tuck them in the back. If someone's deep striking in, or if I know they've got deep strikers, it's defense against that. It's backfield defense for when they're charging forward. Like, you just have to be a little more creative sometimes about the use of the unit.
Right.
And a lot of people get in their mind, it's like, oh, it's an elite unit. It's my big, strong unit. I'm going to punch it through whatever comes at me. Doesn't always work that way. Sometimes your elite unit is better as a bully than he is as a sheepdog.
And I think the way, like, if you're going to play them, the way you have to do it is you have to put them in a transport.
Yes.
And they have to get the jump on whatever it is.
Yes. That is the absolute ideal.
Like, if they get charged, obviously it's dependent on what we're talking about, but like a lot of them, if they get hit first, it's not going to go very
Of course.
good,
Of course.
Because everything's dealing multiple wounds now. Like, if you look at Rory's 1250 Khorne Butcher army, where it's just like... what are those things called again?
The Blood Crushers.
Blood Crushers,
Blood Crushers, Blood Slaughters, whatever.
Yes, I think they're both.
Yeah.
I think you hit both of them there. And then also the Lord on the Juggernaut. Those things can dish out so much damage.
Absolutely.
They're doing 2 apiece, I think.
Something like that. And they've got a bucket load of attacks. They got like 8 attacks or
Just
something
like Magnus
coming in.
does 3 damage apiece, right?
Magnus is -4 and 3 damage each. The staff gives him strength ×2, so he's hitting at strength 16.
So wounding on 2, probably hitting on 2.
Yeah, generally wounding on 2s.
The big stuff is so big now.
Yeah, and the thing is, they made him a close combat beast almost more than they made him a psychic monster. He hits on 2s. He's got a bubble of reroll 1 to hits for Thousand Suns and reroll invuls 1 for Thousand Suns.
Oh, God.
So being in his own aura, he benefits from it. Again, in close combat, I'm rerolling 1s, hitting on 2s most of the time, unless the minuses are starting to work.
Saves on 1s too?
Saves for the invul, which he's got a 3-up armor or a 4-up invul. Unless I'm just getting hit by bolters, I'm on the invul.
Right.
Yeah. But even with these big units, there's weaknesses to them. Something as simple as a dev squad with las cannons has killed Magnus.
Yeah.
Just because,
you get all your hits and you roll well for damage.
Sure. I mess up on some of my saves. I don't have enough
swords?
rerolls. Shadow swords are an obvious one. Yeah. Shadow swords are the slaughter anything big one.
Yeah. What was it at the campaign? The Shadow Sword took out a knight in 1 shot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dirty. So dirty.
Brendan was a little salty about that.
Yeah,
Hi, Brandon.
Playing video games in the arcade section there. Actually, you know what? We should shout out the new venue here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're coming live.
While we think about it.
PvP Cyber Lounge, which is at, I think, 2795. 2795 Pembina Highway. Super cool place, and I'm not just saying that because we're here.
Absolutely.
There's like a LAN center behind us. There's pool tables. There's TVs and shit. They got really good drinks.
Yep.
Whiskey sour. This is not urine.
Smoothie.
Despite what you might think.
Really good smoothie.
This is urine. Anyway, PvP Cyber Lounge. Check it out. 2795 Pembina. It's actually...
This is the location for our tournament in August, on August the 20th.
Yes. Actually, yeah. So this will be the join. You come down. That's on a Sunday, 8 in the morning, I think it is.
9 o'clock start for the games. Registration about 8, so yeah.
So this is
we want everyone there bright and early.
Yeah, you guys are gonna... I don't know. It's too bad we can't do like a pan here. If you have like a mirror, I could just be like... but yeah, really nice. It's all brand new. It's been renovated.
And the thing that I appreciate is you can tell they put money in when they did this.
Yes.
They invested properly. You see... And I mean, it's sad that you comment on that in Winnipeg, but it's so often people cheap out.
Yeah, it's the owner is not from Winnipeg and thus has invested a good amount of cash in this place. So I'm pumped. I think this place is fantastic.
And you can tell they either have the expertise in the area or they have talked with someone they've consulted and they've done it right. So yes, highly excited about this.
Have your LAN party birthdays here, big time.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Now we weren't able to do a top 10 with the proper layout because of just the way our program is working right now. So we're having some trouble with it. Maybe later on in the show we could just read it off my phone. I came up with a
We can rattle some things off.
bitter top 10.
It's okay, Dan. You can join Juice in the 7th talk.
Juice, I'll be playing you in 7th game. Coming soon.
But no, seriously, we talked about some of my experiences with 8th edition, and obviously I'm looking at things from a little bit more sunny of a perspective, perhaps.
Totally.
Yours?
Yeah, like they haven't all been terrible. Like I had a really good game with Orcs against Space Wolves. I played a 1v1, which was nice. And
I think that's the key for you.
Like, yeah, I should be playing more 1v1s to get like a real scope of how things are,
and to find your list, like what you enjoy in this edition.
Yeah, and I think it's Orcs, big time. Like,
definitely.
The problem that I find though is like, everything's so many points that's like not an Orc boy.
Right,
like,
right.
Death Dreads with it, and it's like 374 points for 2 of them. I think.
For 2,
and with rockets that hit on 5, and I'm like,
on the other hand, what are they doing in close combat? They got a bucket load of attacks.
Like, Magnus could just be like, both of them dead.
Don't worry about Magnus, man.
So what I think I'm going to do is, I really like the jump, which is that thing that the Weird Boys are doing.
Yes, I think that's an excellent one to use.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And I think it has some strength. I was building lists that centered around it. I think that's a mistake. I think it should be an element.
A feature of.
Yeah, it shouldn't be 4 units of 30 and we're each waiting a turn to jump each one. Yeah, but you can only do it once.
You know, there were so many things when you're looking at this edition and first going through the books, and it's like, this looks really cool. I want to make this work.
Oh, totally.
And then you realize later, it's more of a side thing than it is a center.
Well, you know what I think? It's only 223 points.
Yeah.
30 boys, big shooters, and a power claw.
See, that's solid. That's really solid for that number.
It's super good. And like I've got enough models to actually play. I think I played 135 boys against those Space Wolves, like including 20 commandos.
See, that's still hard. That's still hard to chew through.
It was a lot of work. But the nice part is like the area buffs. Things like the War Boss. The War Boss lets them advance and charge. That's the new WOG.
Yeah, and see, this is what I mean. These kind of buffs are the things that are both going to make and break lists right now.
I'm not sure if I want to do like a Cult of Speed thing. I was kind of looking at doing like 6 mounted or 8 mounted units and trucks. Trucks are okay, but they're kind of expensive now.
They got a little pricier,
cheap.
right?
Yeah, they're like 100, I think, or 85. Or
and you really got to consider that when you're making your investments. Is like
in 7th, they were like 35 points. Or
points or something. 7th, man, 7th.
It was a wild.
That shit's out the window.
But yeah, I think the strength is going to be in playing horde stuff with some bigger elements.
Yes.
Obviously not a Stompa because they're super expensive now.
Yes.
So like 1,000. The Forge World one is not a breath of fresh air like it used to be. It's worse in my opinion. I mean, it has good guns.
It has
way
gone
more
down.
Points.
It has gone down.
Way
yes.
more.
I'll agree with that one.
Like it's 560 for a kitted out Big Mac Stompa in 7th with all the rockets.
But that's also because they were benefiting from what's his name, Buzzgob?
Yes.
Yeah. If you kitted one out at regular price, it would have been a lot more than that.
That's probably true, and then the other thing, too, is that some of the Forge World stuff that was really bad got really friggin' good for us. Like the Squiggoth.
Oh, I was looking at that one.
So good. Like,
I'm going to just charge it into Mortal Wounds to everyone.
Yeah, and it's a huge model, and it carries a shitload of guys who can all shoot, like, not into combat, but if the model's in combat, they can all shoot at everything.
Yeah.
Not within an inch. And it's like 415 points. It's just unbelievable how playable the Dark Hatchman Squiggoth became.
415, you say? I know someone with wings who cost that much.
Yeah, it's about that. Well, by no means will he beat him in a race, but that Squiggoth can carry.
Oh, man. He's going to punch him.
Some guys. So the Orc stuff is good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm liking some of the fighters.
Yeah.
They're not bad either. Again, they're like 160, so that's not that off base.
No, that's about right.
Yeah,
that's about right.
About 145, 150 before.
Well, looking at about 311 to do the Storm Raven right, so...
Oh, kill tanks.
Oh!
Wicked. They're 4+ to hit.
Yes.
I don't know what the fuck happened, but they're maybe
they got
have a lot of typos
in
their books. I'm thinking maybe the kill tanks, like to hit roll, might be one.
Well, they put out an FAQ.
It's good.
I didn't see anything in there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm being facetious, but holy crap, an Orc tank that's that good that hits on
it's insane.
Yeah. Like you can get I think a 2d6 shot that's strength 10. Yeah. -3 or something, or -4.
Anything minus is actually pretty good, but once you get to the 3s and the 4s, that's your money territory.
Oh, yeah. That's like Space Marines are like,
like -3. Oh, 6 up, thanks. That's great.
maybe I'll get a couple. Or if I'm Martin on Friday, all of them.
Oh, man. See, and that's the other thing. I have been having a lot of success with my list, but it's still my dice.
Yeah.
Like, that's a large chunk of it. I've got 4-up invols, and
it also feels a lot like this game, because of that, is so heavily dependent on dice. Like, if you roll bad, it's catastrophic.
Yeah, bad is really bad.
Instead of just bad, you know?
Yeah.
Like me failing 2 5-up invols on my Razor Wing on Friday meant 2d6 damage instead of 1.
Absolutely.
And I was like, ugh.
Yeah, and that's a huge difference.
And then it's like, 9 damage. And I go, well, let me roll 9 6+ field no pins now. Derp. Like, of course it's not going to work.
No, of course not.
So if you roll bad, like, it's bad news bears, man.
Yep.
And that really
I agree.
my gears. Because I thought...
Thanks, Peter.
Coming into this, what grinds my... I thought that
grinds my gears.
there's going to be a return to, like, really hardcore tactical play. Because 7th, now I'm seeing this in retrospect, had a lot more tactical play, in my opinion, than
It's funny how often I talked about tactical play in 7th with
it didn't feel like it.
Yeah, but it was
so
true.
Much OP shit. There's so much unkillable shit in 7th. I think that was the error of 7th.
That was the error of 7th, was the durability, yes.
They had made stuff... Like, if they had just capped Feel No Pain at a 5-up across the board,
sure,
a 4-up,
sure,
I have no problem with
2-up rerollable invols.
Like all that stuff. I mean, it's there, so you got to take it. Like, at the end of the day,
you're not going to tell anyone not to use what's in their book, right?
And that's what, like, my brother got back into 40K for about 2 months, and then once he started running into all this unkillable shit, he's like, I don't even like this game. Like, I don't like the idea that I can't actually deal with something that's killing me badly every turn.
Yeah, and it was funny because at the beginning of 7th edition, I was looking at the changes they made and the things they added, like the Maelstrom cards, the Psychic Phase. I'm like, okay, this looks like a really good point to get in. They fleshed things out. It's looking really interesting. By the end of 7th, it was like, I'm sorry, this is the worst edition to start in.
Like
I'm sorry if you've attempted to get in.
That's the one thing about 8th that really does hold its weight, is that if you want people to get back into the game,
this is easy to get in.
Really good time.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they might be kind of, but like producer Josh, for example.
Absolutely.
He's playing NIDS now. The NIDS aren't just going wild.
NIDS and loving it.
They're playing with them now. They're going wild.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's all about the noms with the NIDS.
Yeah, nomming on those sweet buys. Hey, producer Josh. Yeah, he's shaking his head. Anyway. Great time to get people back into it.
Yes.
Like, I've got a couple of friends who used to play a long time ago, and they're like, oh yeah, I heard there's a new Warhammer edition. I'm like, guess what, man? You'll understand it.
And I think it's an easy sell. I really do.
Although, I gotta say too, to that point on the opposite side, I really enjoyed going, like, playing in the basement on Fridays, and then having those discussions about how the rules work. You know what I mean? That was part of the hangout.
I did like the debates, but I preferred them, again, more in the basement setting, the hangout setting, than when I ran into that shit at the tournaments.
Oh, tournaments.
Because that was just horrible. Like, that was really the worst.
Sour at tournaments.
Yeah. But I mean, I think we've solved a lot of that issue, and the tournament in August is going to be the proof in the pudding in my mind as to whether or not we've come past that rules lawyering or not.
Actually, I'd be really interested to see if locally anyone's going to try and build some of these spam lists.
I don't think. Well, for POW, I would say yes.
Someone will.
Yes, you're going to have something similar.
Granted, there's already going to be a chapter approved and a bunch of codexes by then.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be a different scenario.
Yeah, and it's funny because what we're playing now and what we'll be playing by Christmas are going to be totally different.
Yes. Yeah.
What we're playing then by, again, PAL, so May next year, going to be totally different again. We're going into the Codex power creep. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. If you are one of those ones that takes longer to get your Codex out, you're going to notice it.
You know what, though? I'm noticing that the power creep is starting. Obviously, we haven't seen Codex Space Marines yet. The chapter tactics, though, like, they don't piss me off. Like, I can play against them.
They're not overpowered, but they give good benefits to all of them.
Yes, and they're like, it's not like you can do the what the hell is it called?
The Super Friends?
No, the Ultramarines draw pod list. What was that again? Back in 7.
Yeah.
What's that called? There's a name for it.
I can't remember which one they did there.
Called the Poopy Pod Angels of Death.
Something like that.
Poop. poop in your mouth.
Yeah, and all those people who bought all those drop pods.
Yes.
Great position now.
Like 105 points.
105, yep. Yep, that's what you're looking at.
Drop pods now are like, maybe you have one or two instead of a whole fucking army of
I think if you need to drop in some shooting real quick, good. Otherwise, not so. Because if you're trying to do something like the assaults, you've got better units for it. You've got things that are looking like the assault marines, the jump pack troops, the vanguards, right? Those are more efficient at coming in and doing the assault than you have guys coming out of the pod, piling forward, and then doing the charge.
Yes.
Yeah. However, if you want to drop some stern guard out of a pod and unload a shitload of shooting into a unit, yeah, there you go. You're solid there.
Well, you know, like one example of that is like with the orc army with the
Yes.
jump is he's reading online and everyone's like, oh, how do you guys use the jump to the most?
Absolutely, yeah.
They're like 30 shoot-a-boys with rockets because now you can split fire on anything.
It's true.
Fire the rockets at some vehicles, shoot a bunch of shoot-a-boys. I was doing the opposite before. I was letting the shoot-a-boys walk and shoot at things and then flinging the close combat guns. Problem with that was that they're not really doing anything before that charge. And you're also the really like shitty part about it is if you end up targeting the thing you're about to charge and you scrape off that front inch of guys.
Oh, then you're done. Yeah.
Even if you're re-rolling charges, you're like, ugh, I need a 10.
10 suddenly gets more difficult.
Yeah.
Re-rolling on a 9, sure.
You can sometimes do it.
Yeah.
I've failed it a couple times.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, sure. Although sometimes I think it might be more advantageous than instead of taking the full re-roll charge, spend a command point on a single dice. Like, say you have a 5 or a 6 on the one dice, right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
Because reroll charge means reroll every dice used for the charge. So if it's the 2d6 or if it's 3d6 for something like the Scorpion, yeah.
Maybe don't risk it.
Well, yeah, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But there's a lot, I think, that is slowly unveiling itself. It's like an onion. It has layers.
Or the Tor network. Let's hope we don't see anything bad.
Tor.
Anyway, the FBI are going to be calling Kyle later tonight.
It's a usual thing, but once a week they call, check in.
I'm just actually like, there's only been limited numbers of large tournaments.
Yes.
We've got a lot of stuff coming up.
And one of those was the ATC,
Yes.
which is known as more of a spam event.
Where people want to play to win.
Of course.
So
of course, but I mean,
gonna see a
the
lot of
top
that.
end ones, you're going to see that for sure.
When's LVO this year?
February. Tickets just went on sale today.
I saw Wes post about that,
We have some good locals like Wes going. Chris, who plays at the store, he's going to be going.
Really?
Yep.
That'd be a fun trip to do.
I think this is the second time he's made the trip down to LVO.
It's cheap enough to fly to Vegas.
Oh, exactly.
Winnipeggers.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
That's not bad at all.
I guess obviously by February there's going to be a lot of codex. How many did they say they were going to release?
The goal was they want 10 by December, and they want the majority, if not all, by the 1 year mark.
Do you know how many armies there are now? Like how many books they have to make?
It depends how specific they get and how much they start splitting up.
Yeah.
I think 16 is about what we're looking at.
Well, Nurgle's going to get their own, right? So that's
Well, and again, you can take the Codex Chaos Marines, and then if they start splitting out like Death Guard, Thousand Suns, you start doing the Emperor's Children.
Undivided.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways they can go.
I'll tell you one thing I miss is having Mark of Nurgle on like bikers and stuff. Because I've got all these sweet converted Nurgle bikes at home, and I'm like, well,
Yeah, what do I do with these now?
why?
Yeah.
They don't have to be tougher.
Yeah.
But that'll all come with time.
Absolutely.
So-
Absolutely. A little time will flesh out the whole thing.
What do you think of these new Primaris vehicles that are coming out?
I'm excited for these.
The giant hover Land Raider and
Man.
the big turtle of a dreadnought.
My man Cole has been putting these together, so
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Gotta-
Honestly, looking at them, I think it's...
They leaked the stats of the hover Land Raider.
Yeah.
Actually. Maybe we should read those out.
Yeah, I know the Dreadnought had pretty solid stats. Like, you were looking at 13 wounds on that thing. You're looking at 7s for the strength and toughness. A few guns, including that rotor cannon that just looks insane.
There's a lot of little rotor sort of things coming out right now, like the Sakaran with the Punisher cannon.
Yep. Well, there's an Iron Hand stratagem that they previewed, and it allows you to move and still fire heavy weapons with no penalty, and advance and shoot your assault weapons with no penalty. So you get this Redemptor Dreadnought charging and using that assault cannon thing. Like, you're going to get right up in their face. You're going to do a ton of shots.
The assault cannon.
Yeah.
Okay, so trying to find these stats here still.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty interesting. So it had like a heavy las cannon, which I'm not 100% sure on what that is.
Yeah, if they didn't specify for it.
Yeah. So is that a new entry then?
That would be a new entry. A heavy would be new. They have las cannons. They have twin las cannons. Yeah.
2d6 damage would be too
A
much.
2d6 is a rare territory.
It might be on a different site, which I care not to mention.
I could see it being something like the neutron lasers that the AdMech have, where it's d6 damage, but any 1 or 2 counts as a 3. So effectively, you've got a 3 to 6 damage machine, which that's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty solid shots. Yeah.
This thing is just brimming with las cannons. Though. It's got like the twin, it's got the heavy.
Yep.
Then you can add that little Gatling thing.
And there was
another gun on it too.
They have stubbers. There's a stubber tied into the las cannon, where if you shot the stubber first, there was re-rolls on the cannon.
Yes, the stubber can actually like light up the target for it,
which is cool because they've had that before in previous editions on profiles for garden things. So this is exciting. Primaris as a whole right now, I think, is exciting as well, because what we saw initially was just the first couple of types, right? Yeah. This is like the first expansion to being their own pseudo army.
Yeah, and like a lot of Marine players are pretty torn over this, because reading online, there's a lot of feelings being expressed.
I know a lot of people are upset and think that they're heading towards the replacement, and I think eventually you might see that.
Yeah.
But the flip side of it is the mini Marines, the regular Marines, there's a lot of holes they fill because they're cheaper. They've got access to certain war gear that the other ones don't right now. Yeah. There's still holes, so I think you'll see them as a distinct army for some time before Primaris has any chance of taking over.
You know what I don't like about Primaris is, like, some of them are multi-wound, right?
2 wounds, yeah. They're all 2 wounds.
That's what I don't like about it, is because you pay all these points for something that, once again, there are too many guns, in my opinion,
that do multi-damage. Yes,
especially in, like, combat weapons and stuff. So you're gonna, like, what? Have 5 of these guys that are gonna die just as fast as 5 guys with a single wound.
Yep.
You know?
The other side of that is it can also draw in that firepower that's doing the multi-damage. So you might get shot at with something that does 3 damage while you're killing a guy and that 1 is wasted, but it's not hitting your vehicle where that 3 would have applied.
Yeah. You know what? Like, overall, I think the lesson of the day is that we gotta give it time.
Time is the only thing we have here. We can do impressions from the beginning. Obviously, we've had different experiences. We have different perspectives. It's too early to panic on the tournament scene. It is too early to panic about needing to fix or adjust anything. You may see restrictions in tournaments in terms of what detachments you can take. Yeah. There's an event in Brandon on the 27th that I'm looking at. They took the last page of detachments, the one with like the flyer and the super heavy ones. That's banned. So you can use you can use the heavy or the fast or the elite detachment. Yeah. You can use the patrol, the brigade.
Insane.
Yeah, right. And
actually, that's not terrible.
Honestly, I'm interested in that. 2,500 points, so that'll be something.
That'll be cool.
Yeah,
I like
that. I've got a nice little list.
Lords of War, or can you still take the Supreme Command and get a Lord of War?
No, because the Supreme Command's on that page as well.
That back page too? Oh,
yeah.
That's actually a really convenient way of handling it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Twin Eagles obviously doesn't allow Lords of War, but any other tournament that was considering to be towards a newer crowd or trying to draw people in that aren't familiar with the tournament scene yet may not be totally on the idea of, oh shit, everything's going to die, everything can do high damage. Right. This is a good way to get it going. No Lords of War, get that back page out of there. And
when is that event?
That's the 27th. It's the week after, or the 26th, I think. It's the Saturday after the one we're running.
This month? Next month?
In August.
August. Okay.
Yes. August 26th.
I'll have to see if I can make that.
Yeah. Nice thing is it's a charity event. So I think $20 was the entry, and half of it is going towards the charity, half of it is towards their costs. 18 people to sign up, and yeah, they're advertising more beginner friendly as the idea. Sorry if I'm playing, there's going to be some that's not. I can't help that.
What are you taking?
I'm going to take my demons.
Yeah.
There's no surprise there. But the nice thing is, at that point level, I can do quite a bit with it. Like, I think I can do full brigade size and still have something very effective. So we'll see. We'll see on that. One thing I've been doing lately is trying to play without Magnus, get used to, times when people don't want to play against him or events where he's not an option for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to become a crutch.
Yeah.
He's a good tool. He's excellent.
I mean, depending too much on a low is
never
sketchy. Like,
yeah.
It's going to be awesome for the most part.
Of course.
But there are going to be games where you can't use them, and you're smart
Yes.
to diversify a little bit there.
You have to. You just have to if you want to play against a variety of opponents. I play at the store and I play against guys who consider themselves competitive. I've got to be able to vary.
I'll tell you what I miss. Insta-kill.
No, you don't.
Because insta-kill used to give Dark Eldar a bit of an edge. Husk blades could take out a big demon.
It's true.
Lots of
It's
stuff
true.
like that. Now it's just another weapon that is at strength 3. And,
Yeah, but you got the Dark Lances,
Dark Lances are
Dark
very
Lances
nice.
are very powerful, especially when you're able to move your gunboat, not have the
14
minus.
inches,
Yeah. Still unload at 3s to hit. You can basically do whatever you want.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Laser Wings are really good too.
I think the Void Raven is an understated one.
I've never actually owned one, so
Yeah.
I should. I'm really bad for not reading the stats.
Oh,
I don't have.
see, that's the thing. You gotta start looking at the ones you don't have. And it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Spend some money.
Yeah.
Dan. Oh,
Or, we know guys in the community that have the armies.
That's
I'm
true,
sure
yeah.
someone has a bomber, Mr. Yuri.
Yuri, yeah.
Yeah.
He's a Void Raven.
He definitely does. And
just
it's
play
got a
all
once-a-game
versus
thing where it can drop a bomb and the bomb's mortal wounds.
Yeah.
That's solid. The firepower it brings as well, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, the Orc Bomber is actually way better than it used to be.
Yeah, definitely.
I think I might be wrong, but I think you still have to do some version of the crash or burn thing.
I think so.
One, you still nail the ground
yeah.
or whatever. But
he's
way
an Orc
more
kamikaze pilot. He should be. Yeah. There should be a chance of that.
we would prefer he didn't die, but there's a good chance.
But he's an orc and he gets enthusiastic. He can't help it.
Yeah, enthusiasm is a tough nut to crack.
It really is. It really is.
Especially when it's like an intergalactic spore child.
Oh, man.
Anyway, should we read this top 10?
Yeah, let's fire through this. I think we're coming up to our time here.
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. We started a little late, but I do have to get going. So.
Oh.
That's the wrong chat. Here we go. So.
All right.
This is the top 10.
I do not endorse this top 10 list.
So 4 and 1 have been switched by Scott.
Okay.
So just note that.
Got it.
Okay. So, do you want to start? I know you're a big fan of this.
I do like this one, actually, yeah.
So,
all right.
This is the top 10 things that also started out like 8th edition. And there are also, I should say, qualifiers for each of these. Not all of them are for the same reason.
Yeah, I did have to question that one ahead of time.
Like it was hyped up too much. Some of them are a big letdown. Some of them are how it feels. So
we'll let you figure out which is which.
Yeah. So number 10.
At number 10, we have the Russian Revolution.
Great reference.
Wonderful. I love historical references. And especially if you can tie communism into it. Oh, wonderful.
Oh, it's juicy.
Right?
Juicy nut we're cracking here. Number 9, Fire Festival. And with a Y. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's that festival that
with a Y.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just blew up like crazy. Ja Rule was involved. Major fraud, like massive fraud on a massive level.
I like to think of it as a performance piece to teach them about things they don't have. This is what it's like living in a refugee
this was like
camp.
A super meta Ja Rule video.
Right?
And there's going to be a video.
Oh, there has to be.
Who knows?
There has to be.
Number 8.
Number 8, getting punched in the face. So I had to question this one initially because I did not see how it started out like 8th, but when Dan explained it feels like 8th, I understood. We're good.
There are a number of qualifiers. As we said. Number 7, the Fukushima nuclear disaster. So, all they wanted to do was supply the city with power. Look what happened.
This is a lesson in poor planning. This is what happens when you build on a fault line.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Much like this edition.
Oh, someone's salty.
Number 6, Kyle.
Al Capone's vault. Geraldo,
You might
that one's
remember
for you.
this. Geraldo Rivera.
Yeah.
Big thing. We're gonna open the vault.
More to the point, I remember from the Simpsons episode where they were doing the barbershop quartet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Number 5, eating nails. Just like a handful of nails.
Now, are you talking like fingernails, or are you talking like construction?
We're talking like old school construction.
Because I don't know, eating a bunch of someone else's fingernails could be pretty nasty too.
Yeah, but they're not going to rip you up inside.
Are they?
That's a good question. Are they sharp, big nails? How gross are these fingernails that you're eating? Number 4 is actually...
Yes. So number 4, tying back into number 10, is communism.
That's right.
Starting out with a good concept.
Game. The game of life. Whoa, it was supposed to be fair.
All they wanted was to seize the means.
Exactly. And look what happened. What a mess.
And that, I think, is a lesson in what happens when an authoritarian gets control. But
There you go.
that ties into 40K very well.
Number 3, Michael Jordan's 2001 comeback.
Wrong comeback.
Yeah, big wrong comeback. Actually, don't mention comeback around Michael Jackson. There we go. There it is.
I wasn't giving you
It's
that.
also the tour that killed him. Let's remember that. So, that's a lot of mistakes being made.
Tour or the drugs?
Yeah, that's very astute.
Number 2, a personal favorite of mine because people freaked out about this for years, built it up to be the biggest, most horrible thing that was going to happen.
Biggest scam in the world.
Y2K.
That's right. In the year 2000.
And we all sat there waiting for New Year's to flip over, and we're still alive. Yeah!
Explode for no reason.
Well, I was waiting for it to be like that Simpsons Halloween episode where, all the appliances start flying around and exploding, planes crashing.
Yeah, I feel like
The toaster trying to kill them, yeah.
Y2K was just the big... I remember going to the hospital and seeing machines that said Y2K proof, and I'm like, I feel like this is young people tricking old people, where they're just like, yeah, it's gonna, I don't know, man, set on fire.
I think this was someone who was technologically literate explaining something that could have been a problem to someone who wasn't, and then said person overreacted hardcore.
I don't know how the rumor got about that your computer would start smoking.
Well,
Out the back of it.
yeah, that was exaggerations that were built up, but at the time it was just like
hardware. It's not going to just spin out of control.
yeah. Well, the worry was everything was going to erase. It's going to go to 1900, so the internal data wasn't going to catch it properly, and everything's gone.
What a weird...
Yeah, that's...
I remember sitting there...
an age when we had no idea what computers really did for us, but we had them anyway.
And let's remember, time is but a concept. Number 1, ladies and gentlemen, the pièce de résistance, or arguably because of this top 10, the pièce de merde.
It hits right here. Oof. Right in the heart.
Burns so good.
Yep.
Star
painful.
Wars: The Phantom Menace.
Oh, poor Darth Maul. Poor guy.
Yeah, who would have thought Darth Maul would only get one?
Well, and it's funny because they were doing like the D23 Expo this weekend, and Mark Hamill was being interviewed, and he was even saying that was the thing that surprised him most in the prequels is that Darth Maul didn't go through all 3. It's like, I thought for sure this was going to be their guy.
Dynamic looking character. Yeah.
And getting Ray Park to do the choreography was insane. Like,
And then instead he's just like, "Que pizza."
oh look, I couldn't have. I mean, the Clone Wars cartoon ended up redeeming it a little bit. They brought him back.
Yeah, and then there was also that Doku guy or whatever, the robot Jedi thing.
Oh, Grievous, yeah.
Yeah,
He was hilarious. Yeah. And again, the cartoon doing things much better than they ever did in the movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too bad they were cartoons. I mean, they're good still, but if they had all been real people, spicy meat.
Right. But then you got to get the Lucas fingers out of the pie.
Yeah, and actually Disney managed to. I gotta salute that. The only person who could, the only people rather, who could
No, it's still Walt Disney, the original.
Oh yeah.
Cryogenically frozen, occasionally just opens up for a business decision.
Lucas out of here. Shut the door. Oh god. Well, you know what? I think it's a little early, but what do you think, Kyle?
Well,
do you have anything else you want to
other than saying my impressions of Aether are positive? I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far. Of course, I've got lists that are doing well. They're taking advantage, so it's easier to enjoy when you're in a position
I think there's also
like
some
that.
pre-orders this weekend, right?
Yes, you have the Marine Codex this weekend.
Yeah.
You have the Dreadnought this weekend, the Reavers, and some cards and
Yeah, I was
books.
surprised
Yeah.
the tank's not coming out this time.
I think we're going to be looking at a 2 to 3 week. The aggressors weren't in there either.
Right.
Nor was the Primaris Chaplain or Primaris Apothecary, which are both on their way.
Primaris Chaplain probably looks pretty cool.
Yeah, actually, they showed a picture. I have to dig it up, but I can't find or don't have it at hand right now. But it's amazing. He's got like this iron halo behind him almost. Very dynamic pose.
Cool.
He looks fantastic. The Apothecary looks intimidating. Like, yeah,
Sweet.
it's very exciting.
Well, gentlemen, start your engines and don't forget to eat your oatmeal. And you can't win them all. And sometimes
Stay away from warp dust.
the bird, when it's early, gets the egg and the worm. Anyway,
Sounds almost sexual, Dan.
without further ado, thank you for joining us this evening. Once again, we're at PvP Cyber Lounge,
Wonderful, wonderful lounge. Very happy to be here.
2795 Pembina Highway. Super nice people, super great place.
Absolutely.
Lovely building.
Very reasonable prices.
And we got some nice patterned steel tables here for you. Anyway, if you're not
Having fun.
you're
You're cheating.
in the words of a child. Have a good night.